Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and it is Saturday morning, early on Saturday morning. Welcome to another episode of Sales Logic. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. It's early, but I've already gone for my run. I've already worked out, and I'm on about my third cup of coffee. So let's do it, right?
Let's do it. Let's hit the video and let's jump in.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
All right, this is Sales Logic. Saturday morning, one of our favorite times of the week to discuss sales. I am here with my co-host, Mark Hunter. And Mark, I'm just going to give him a little overview of how the show works. Then you can dive into what is on tap for today. We start the show every week with your questions. That's right. We invite you to be a part of this podcast. Just go to saleslogicpodcast.com or hashtag saleslogic. Put in your question and we'll feature you right here on this show. We've got a hot topic. We discuss a book and a lightning round so that you walk away with return on investment because you've given us one of the greatest things you have, and that is your time. So Mark, what's on tap for today?
Hey, this is a subject that I've been looking forward to for a long time because, man, it hits a sweet spot. The topic is how to fill a dry pipeline fast. Now, come on, folks. We've all been there. Everyone has been there. So that's what we're going to dive into. But let's hit it off fast by going right to the question. It comes from Ahmed in the UAE. He says, we're in a business that has grown under COVID, exploded, really. We were lucky. Regulations and market shifts put our product in demand. For the past 15 months, it has been all I could do to keep up with incoming demand. Gee, that sounds like a rain barrel, doesn't it? Now, 18 months into the crisis, the tides have shifted. Demand has slowed. Regulations have relaxed, and I find myself with an empty pipeline at a time when I still have goals to hit. How do I feed my pipeline in a market that is now oversaturated? You go from rain barrel to having to be a rainmaker.
Yeah, and a rainmaker in a tough market, right? I mean, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the real estate market. I've been doing a lot of research in the real estate market because I'm getting ready to do a presentation. That's kind of the market they're in. I mean, it's been red hot. Now they're out of inventory and all those types of things. So number one is take a breath. We can fix this. You've come off a hot market. Start by going back to, even though it feels like the market is oversaturated, just like the fact that you went from a market that was red hot to a market that was cold, the market will shift again. That's probably one of the biggest things salespeople need to realize is that the market shifts constantly. So even when the market feels oversaturated, keep doing your behaviors because now it's about visibility and nurturing and creating the relationships that are going to pay dividends down the road. The difference between this market and the last market you were in is this market is harder to sell in because you're not getting instant gratification, instant return on investment. But a lot of it is the same behaviors. You need to be reaching out to existing customers. You need to be reaching out to prospects. You need to be doing the same behaviors you've done day in and day out, knowing the return on investment will come.
Yeah, see, we need to call out those people who are living right now in a rain barrel. Business is good. They got a lot of stuff coming in. Let me tell you something. Just because you're in a rain barrel does not mean you can stop prospecting. You have got to keep prospecting. I was on the phone yesterday with a company, and it's interesting. I was talking with the president and the sales team, and they were reviewing numbers for the last 5 or 6 years. And every other year is a boom year. Now, what's that tell you? What's that say? And I called him out. I said, okay, now help me understand something. When you're in a boom year, are you having problem keeping? Oh, yeah, we're having problem keeping up. So, okay, sales team, do you instinctively just kind of back off? Oh, boom. That's what they do. They backed off on prospecting. And as a result, the following year it's dry. It slows way down. You've got to be consistent with your prospecting day in, and it is a muscle, and you've got to exercise it regularly. Peaks and valleys, there's a lot of industry flows, a lot of economic factors that can come into play. And we can't change those. Right. All we can do is change our own behavior. And that's what we have to respond to. But hey, this is such a hot topic. Let's jump into the topic itself, because how to fix a dry pipeline fast. So many pieces here. One piece I'll just add, I meant to say this to Ahmed. Don't worry about an oversupply. There's opportunities out there. The moment you think there's no opportunities, guess what? There will be no opportunities. Right? I mean, your attitude going into prospecting, your attitude going into developing customers is going to determine the level of success you have coming out. So anyway, let's jump into that topic here, how to fix a dry pipeline. And boy, so many other words. I mean, we can put quite a few other words in there in place of dry.
Yeah, dead, barren. Anyway, number one is, I said this to Ahmed, but go back to your existing customers. Anybody that you sold to over the last 6 months to a year who loved you, who had a good experience, chances are there's more opportunity for them. Just like your market ebbed and flowed, went from hot to cold, people's lives are changing. It's amazing what can happen to them in a matter of 6 months, and people's needs change. So just go back to those existing customers, reach out, check in. A couple of things are going to happen. Number one is you're going to further cement that relationship. So when there is opportunity in the future, you're going to be the first person they call. The second piece of that is, I guarantee you're going to find some business in there. You ask the right questions, their lives have shifted and changed in some way. The other is you're going to find future opportunity. Even if it's not an opportunity in the moment, you're probably going to uncover something that's going to come down the road. So step one is go back to your existing customers.
That brings up a key point. It is so easy when your pipeline is empty to panic and suddenly start throwing out 1,000 emails, start just randomly throwing shots into the air. And let me tell you something, that is like the worst thing you can do. Sure, you may hit something, you may land some business, but I'll tell you what, when your pipeline is dry, that's when you stop. And like you said, go back to your existing customers. Go to the people who know you already. You've already created a relationship with them. I say I'm drawing a couple circles, and each circle gets a little bit bigger. That first circle is your existing customers. The second circle is customers who have left you over the last 3-4 years. Go back to them. Go keep in touch with them. There's another circle, and that's customers who turned you down, but you still established a relationship. You see, start with the people who know you and build out from there. Don't do the spray and pray. And that is just but that's what I see so many salespeople. I had somebody call me this week, and this very same issue, their pipeline was totally empty. And they said, Mark, I've been sending out at least 200-300 emails every day. I said, oh, really? How's that working out for you?
Yeah, right.
Not well. And I said, now let me guess, you've been sending 200-300 emails out a day to 200-300 different people every day. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, unless you create a repetition, unless you create a cadence, unless you create a process, forget it. You're just throwing emails into the wind.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, you are so right. It's consistency. I think it is the sexiest word in sales. I mean, the more consistent you are, it is not about volume. It is about that consistency wrapped with quality. I'm going to add to that the fact that, when you are reaching out, I think we need to back up here a second, because I just realized something really crucial we missed, and that's your mindset. The moment that your pipeline goes dry, you become self-consumed with your own need, and you become desperate. And desperation smells. People can smell it miles away. And if you are desperate, if any of your reach out, anything feels to the customer or to the prospect like you're trying to fill your pipeline, you are never going to get that deal. You need to be very, very mindful of the energy that is coming off of you.
And what that means is that you go back and you look at the outcomes you create. This is what I find. So many people, what happens is their pipeline is empty and they panic over the product they sell. They say, my price is too high, or I don't have the right option. I don't have the right service. That's totally irrelevant. That is, get that off the table. I firmly contend it's not the product or the service you sell. It's the outcome you create. And take those customers that you've been selling to and write down, what are the outcomes? Well, how have you helped them? That's going to start getting your mind, because you're spot on. If your mind's not set right, it's not. But here's the whole thing. When you do this, you begin to see things from a perspective of abundance versus scarcity. This is what Ahmed is dealing with right now. He's dealing with this feeling of scarcity because there's so many things happening out there. The marketplace is flooded. There's no deals for me. And the scarcity mentality, again, shuts you down.
Yeah, it just completely shifts the energy that you have coming off of yourself. And for most people out here, we're still dealing with an uncertain marketplace, and people want to be around people who are confident and who have the confidence to put their needs put the customer needs ahead of their own needs. So really work on that mindset. Get out of the place of desperation. One thing we haven't talked about are your centers of influence. Reaching out to those people who can refer business to you, and that you can refer business to. So basically, what we've said is reach out to your existing customers. Just because you sold them something, I've got one of these online courses I do this great little exercise. I love it. And that is, you write down your top 25 customers, and then you write down your products and services that you sell, the range of products and services that you sell. And then you do a cross match. See how many products your best customers have. And on average, it's less than 2 of your products and services. So these are people who already love you, who already bought into you. Go back to those. Then start to reach out, as Mark said, to customers that you did business with, but for some reason or not, they're not doing business with you right now. I just recaptured one. I did a speaking engagement. One of them was in my audience, and they had a leadership change. I hadn't worked for them in 2 years. And afterwards we were talking, and she said, give me a call. And I said, great. So we're going to be working together again. A lot of times people leave you just because they get out of the rhythm. It doesn't have anything to do, with you. And last but not least is look at those prospects and those centers of influence.
Well, that's so key. You just fall off people's radar screens. That's why you've got to remain present out there. That's, to a certain degree, what social media is all about. Now, you can get so fixated on social media. Social media is not going to fix your pipeline immediately. So back off of that one. I'll get a little scared even using the word social media when we're talking about trying to fill a pipeline fast. But let's go back to the centers of influence, because I always believe there's several different circles. Again, there's 3 different circles of people of influence. There are the 5 people who you connect with the most. You and I are in a mastermind group together.
Right.
We exchange ideas a tremendous amount. So those are 5 people that you interact with a lot. And there's a couple things that happen. That circle is also one that's going to help motivate you. As you share with them ideas, they share with you ideas. Then there's that bigger circle, like you said, the circle of 25. And these are 25 people that have the ability to bring you business, and you have the ability to take them business. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bigger circle of 100 people. These are 100 potential contacts, potential relationships. Again, broader people that you're slowly but surely working your way out to. This is what I find is this. When people say my pipeline is empty, I love to challenge them on this. And I'll say, are you expecting your pipeline to be empty 2 years from now? And it's amazing. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Here's the whole thing. You can fill an empty pipeline in 30 days or less. In fact, I think I'm going to do a blog. I'm going to do a video series on it. How to fill a pipeline in 30 days or less. And I'm willing to bet people that you can fill a pipeline in 30 days. I think most people can fill a pipeline in 2 weeks or less, just by being consistent and having a level of discipline and staying in these circles that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. Don't just sit there and spray and pray.
Yeah, Andy is so right. He joined us earlier when he put up the term consistency. Michelle piped in. Welcome, Michelle, and said she loves the idea of focusing on the outcomes you provide and not the products. That's another one of those legendary Mark Hunter quotes.
You know, it's so easy for us to look at the pipeline also, and then we compare it to something that happened in the past. Okay, for instance, let's go back to Ahmed, the UAE. He had a full pipeline a while ago, and it looks really good. And it's easy. Don't compare your pipeline. Don't compare your pipeline, because what I find is when you compare an empty pipeline to a full pipeline, you become discouraged. What I want to do is I want to compare my pipeline to what was it yesterday. What was it yesterday? And you just build and you just build and you build and you build. It goes back to a thing that I have regarding the definition of success. Don't let others define success for you. Only you can define success. And this is the same thing with your pipeline. I don't care if somebody else has got a full pipeline. I really don't care. I care about mine. And I just slowly but surely. There's a piece that we haven't talked about. Okay. And that is, in anybody's pipeline, there's going to be stuff that just is rotting away. I mean, it's just
yeah,
rotting
that's
away.
True.
When was the last time you really went into your pipeline and did a deep cleaning and see all that rot? And you know what's interesting? Some of that rot can be fixed. Some of it needs to be purged, but some of it can be fixed. So don't look past stuff you already have that maybe is like 2/3 of the way through the pipeline, but you just haven't been able to get it over the top. Again, there's another circle that you can begin honing in on.
Yeah. There's, the thing about it is, first of all, the pipeline went dry. I think the thing we need to shift and talk about is what are you going to do to never be in this position again? And that's, when I first wrote a blog about how to fix a dry pipeline fast, I wrote it because I was getting a number of questions around it. But I started the blog by saying, I'm going to answer this question, but the goal is to never be here again. And it goes back to what Andy said, and that's consistency. I think in sales, we get so hung up on quantity. Like I talk to salespeople who are like, I'm going to make 100 calls a day. And you have to ask yourself, what is sustainable? What is sustainable when you're busy? What is sustainable to do for your energy level day in and day out? You may be able to do 100. I don't know what industry you're in, but you need to figure that out and really ask yourself, what is the minimum I can do every day? So at least you get some level of calling done every day.
I really compare prospecting to a lot like running. I run, and already this morning I went out and ran. It's like 76 degrees here at 5:15 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
In Omaha. Yeah. Incredible. So that's why I went out and ran at 5:15. But I'll run 3 miles every day. And I'm in better shape running 3 miles a day than saying once a week I'm going to go out and run 10.
Yeah.
It's just the consistency of the discipline. This is where I'm going to challenge salespeople. Peaks and valleys occur because you allow them to be created.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you have to say, and you're a master of this. Every day you make your prospecting calls. Every day you're making your calls. Every day. I make my calls every day. Have to be disciplined. I have to block time on my calendar. My calendar, those blocks are a different color. So I can see it on my calendar. I mark them as yellow. And to me, that's like, hold it. You're supposed to be on the phone. And prospecting for me is not sending out emails. Prospecting for me is making phone calls.
Right.
And that's what works for me. You got to be consistent.
Well, and I think, so for me, part of it too is getting prepared. I'm on the move quite a bit. Like the other day I was doing a strategic plan for a company, and it was a 4-hour drive to where I was going and a 4-hour drive back. And I really wasn't in the mood to spend the night in another hotel. So I got up at 2:00 in the morning. I left the house at 4 and I drove to where I was going and I drove home. So knowing that I'm not going to have computer access that day, because I do prospect by email quite a bit. I use the telephone, then I follow it up with an email, because I rarely, if ever, get people on the telephone. And so for me, the night before, I just laid out the calls I was going to make. I had my phone numbers ready to go so that I could use the drive time to do that. I do it a lot when we're traveling to, the other week I had 6 engagements, 6 different states, 6 different cities, and airplanes all over the place. I had to be prepared the night before of who I was going to call on and what that was going to look like, because I knew my week was going to be so hectic. If I had to think about who I was going to call on, it was never going to happen.
Oh, that brings up such a key piece. I mean, tomorrow begins today. You have to have that plan worked out in advance. And again, what I see happening is people, I got to make phone calls, and they spend all day trying to figure out who to call, so they never make the call. Thinking about a prospect is not prospecting.
Right.
Prospecting is actively engaged. And you're right. I beat the phone incessantly, and I'm like you. I mean, I do a phone call and then I email. I'll share with you a situation yesterday. I love Friday afternoons for prospecting, and Friday afternoons, even in the month of August. Whoa. And it's interesting. I was trying to reach a CRO yesterday, Chief Revenue Officer of a company. And the call did not happen, but I popped him an email, and I even texted him. And it's interesting. Last night, my wife and I were out to dinner, and he texted me back and said, "Hey, when can we talk over the weekend?" And what's interesting is I find Friday afternoon phone calls are a great way to have conversations with people. Even if you don't connect with them, they'll sit there and say, he really wanted to talk.
Yeah.
And I do that. Most of my senior level phone calls occur on Friday afternoons. I have just found that is the best time. And it's amazing how many times those will roll over to a Saturday or a Sunday, when they'll say, "Hey, you know what? I missed you. Got time Sunday afternoon to talk?" Sure, let's talk.
Yeah, I can make that happen. Thanks, Catherine. You're so right. A lot of business owners who can sell do 3 to 5 outreaches a day every week, and that's it. That's my pipeline. I do 3 a day every day, and that's all. And it has, over the years, it has created a really big pipeline. In fact, such a pipeline that that a little while ago I had to raise my prices on my pipeline because I couldn't keep up with it. Mark, we are burning time here. We are down to the last 2.5 minutes. I want to reach out and talk. Let's talk about the book. The book is my book, called 42 Rules to Turn Prospects into Customers. I bring that up because it is a book that I wrote that I love, that is only 600-word chapters. No more than 600 words. But every single rule you put together is exactly how you go from prospect to customer to basically a champion and a referral source. And what I wanted to say is to anybody, we're getting ready to re-release that book under a new title with a whole new brand. But if anybody listening to the show just shoots me an email at mere@valuespeaker.com, mere@valuespeaker.com, I'll shoot you the e-version of the existing book now, because it is getting ready to go out of date. So Mark, let's roll into the lightning round.
Hey, the lightning round. And I did check. The book is out on Amazon. So
it is out there on Amazon. We'll probably do
including the Audible as read by the author.
Read by the author.
Lightning round. Top strategies to keep your pipeline from drying up. Go.
Top strategies to keep your pipeline. Let's go with Andy's strategy of be consistent. Determine what number of calls you can do every day and do them.
And I'm going to add, stick with your existing customers first. Be reaching out to them. They've got business for you.
Yeah, go back to, if you don't have centers of influence, if you don't have those people that you reach out and you share leads with consistently, go back to and create centers of influence.
Reach out to customers who have left you over the years, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Reach back out to them.
Yeah. Take a weekend, schedule a day, but do research, get prepared ahead of time. Preparation is key for consistency. So go ahead and get your prospect list in order. Get their names, get their companies, get their email, get their cell, get their mailing address. Get that information in shape, put it into your CRM. take all the thinking out of doing sales calls. I do this over the holiday break in December every year. It's my time to do my research for the year and determine that.
Reach out to customers who turned you down. Reach back out to them. You don't know what's changed.
Yeah, I would say that you need to think of different ways to reach out to them. Don't always be trying to set up a call or something. What are going to be your value add pieces? Are you going to send them a book? Are you going to send them an article? Are you going to share a video? Are you going to make a connection? Are you going to invite them to an event? What are your value add ways?
When your pipeline is empty, that is not the time to sit there and say, oh, let me take 3 weeks to figure out what kind of CRM system I want to use. No, you only need 50, 75, 100 leads, and you can run with it. And you know what? You don't need a CRM system for that. Engage, go. All
right, I'll give one more, you give one more. My last one is going to be, don't be afraid to ask for help. This isn't a time to let your ego get in the way. Mark talked about the mastermind that we have. You have other people on your team who are really good. Don't ask them to fill your pipeline. That's not the help I'm asking for. Ask them what you should do to get that pipeline filled.
Every day, make it your number one goal to be prospecting. Make that your number one goal. Hey, with that, let's go ahead and close it down. I'm going to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you, a $1, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this morning, getting up with us a little bit earlier than normal. I am 1 minute from having contractors turn on drills and everything in my home. We'll see you right here next week for another episode. Please, if you have a question, reach out, saleslogicpodcast.com. We love featuring you on the show. And thanks so much for being a part of this. See you next week.